Remember when network TV thought it could pull off a weekly Terminator series, and against all odds, it actually kinda did? The Sarah Connor Chronicles wasn't just another spin-off cash grab desperately trying to milk a movie franchise, because Lord knows we needed more Terminator content after T3's motorcycle chase through a cemetery and that awkward Elton John cameo. Well, today we're counting down 15 weird facts about the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the show that proved sometimes the best way to honor a franchise is to completely ignore the sequel that nobody asked for and start fresh. So, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, because apparently we specialize in shows that got canceled too soon, and let's time jump straight into it with number 15. Fox buried a sci-fi gem in the Friday night death slot. You know a network doesn't believe in your show when they schedule it for Friday nights. That's where good television goes to die, somewhere between takeout pizza and whatever passed for social media in 2008.
John!
Neat trick. You like?
Because, yes, people still left their houses on weekends back then. Here's the brutal math that would make a Terminator weep. Season 1 was supposed to be 13 episodes. The Writers Guild strike that went from 2007 into 2008 chopped it down to just 9 because apparently even the apocalypse has to wait for contract negotiations. Season 2 got a full order, but Fox shoved it into television purgatory. Friday at 8 p.m., competing with blockbuster runs and whatever TGI Fridays was calling happy hour that week. The result is that ratings went flatter than a Terminator's emotional range, but here's what's maddening. Showrunner Josh Friedman had it all mapped out, Apocalypse. He's never revealed his master plan, only teasing fans in interviews like some time-traveling showrunner keeping spoilers locked in a vault somewhere in 2029. Sometimes you wonder if Fox executives actually watched the shows that they canceled though. But then you remember these are the same people who looked at Firefly and thought, you know what this space western needs? Less space, less western, and definitely aired out of order. Number 14, a 90s rock star became Skynet's corporate face. Casting Shirley Manson as a liquid metal Terminator was downright diabolical, like casting your childhood crush as the villain in your worst nightmares. The front woman of Garbage stepping into the Sarah Connor Chronicles as Catherine Weaver, a T-1001 CEO running ZeroCorp, pure Gen X catnip served with a side of existential dread. Because nothing says corporate evil quite like the woman who sang I'm only happy when it rains,
I'm only happy when it rains,
while wearing a power suit that could literally dissolve into murder pudding. Her debut in Season 2's opener was a masterclass in wait, what just happened? First, she casually morphed on screen from human to Terminator because apparently shapeshifting is the new hostile takeover. Second, the episode opened with Manson's version of Samson and Delilah setting the mood, a biblical ballad turned haunting theme that made corporate meetings feel genuinely sinister. She made corporate evil feel genuinely unsettling. Part boardroom shark, part liquid metal death machine, part reminder that your boss might literally be plotting humanity's downfall during quarterly reviews. Who else can make a budget meeting feel like a threat to human survival? Number 13, Summer Glau turned robot combat into performance art. By 2008, Summer Glau was already the undisputed queen of shows that deserved better. Basically the patron saint of sci-fi series that networks canceled just to watch fans suffer. Firefly? Gone faster than a ship through Atmo. The 4400? Same story, different heartbreak. At this point, getting cast alongside Summer Glau was like wearing a red shirt on Star Trek and about as dangerous for your show's longevity. TSCC picked her up and reminded everyone why she kept getting cast in sci-fi cult favorites that broke your heart and your Netflix queue simultaneously.
At the police?
No, get away from the door.
Why?
That's why.
Her secret weapon was ballet training that turned robot combat into something you'd pay to see at Lincoln Center. When Cameron took down enemies, it wasn't just violence, it was choreography. Fluid, elegant, and deeply unsettling all at once, like watching Swan Lake if the swans were programmed to kill everyone in the audience. The writers even leaned into it, staging memorable dance-influenced sequences that highlighted her ballet background, because nothing says deadly robot learning humanity like perfect fifth position. But Glau didn't just bring grace, she brought humor that felt both natural and deeply wrong. Who else could sell a Happy Days reference in a post-apocalyptic nightmare? She was part assassin, part ballerina, part pop culture Easter egg. That's Cameron in a nutshell, and exactly why fans still call her one of sci-fi TV's most unique creations, somewhere between R2-D2 and Black Swan. Number 12, James Cameron actually watched and corrected his own spin-off. Now, if you're going to spin off the Terminator into a TV show, you'd better kiss the ring of the man who started it all, preferably before he builds an underwater lair and declares war on your creative choices. TSCC didn't just nod to James Cameron, they named their protector Terminator after him, because subtlety is overrated when you're dealing with time-traveling robots. Cameron Phillips was deliberate fan service to the director who turned killer robots into a cultural juggernaut and made us all afraid of swimming pools after T2. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Cameron was actually watching like some benevolent Hollywood overlord keeping tabs on his creative offspring. The assumption was that the guy who built Pandora and sank the Titanic multiple times apparently had zero interest in a network TV spin-off. Wrong. Spectacularly, hilariously wrong, in fact. Showrunner Josh Friedman later admitted that Cameron had not only tuned in, but actually called him out on a plot detail because when James Cameron calls, you answer. Imagine getting a phone call from James Cameron telling you you're doing time travel wrong. It's the kind of Hollywood moment that makes you laugh, panic, and update your resume simultaneously. Suddenly, your little TV show isn't just fan fiction, it's got the creator's stamp of approval, or at least his attention, which honestly might be scarier than a T-800 with anger management issues. Number 11, the pilot literally exploded through time. Most TV pilots ease you into their world with exposition, character introductions, and the gentle suggestion that maybe you should care about these people before things get weird. The Sarah Connor Chronicles said, "Nah, let's blow up a bank vault and time travel 8 years, because subtlety is for shows that don't involve killer robots." Directed by David Nutter, the guy Hollywood calls the pilot whisperer because half his shows actually get picked up, which is basically a superpower in network television. The opening episode had Sarah, John, and Cameron using time displacement gear hidden in a bank vault to leap from 1999 straight to 2007. Boom! Just like that, the show sidestepped years of messy continuity, kept Sarah alive, sorry, T3, and landed everyone in the era of MySpace and whatever passed for social media before everyone realized Facebook was basically Skynet with better user interfaces. It felt cinematic, not like typical network sci-fi budget constraints where explosions look like somebody set off fireworks in their garage. For fans still mourning Terminator 3's creative choices and motorcycle chases that defied basic physics, it was exactly what they needed. A big, bold reset that put Sarah Connor back in the driver's seat where she belonged. Number 10, Cromartie kept dying and coming back smarter. Most TV villains get killed off and that's it. But Cromartie got killed off and promoted like the world's most persistent middle manager with homicidal tendencies. He started as your standard T-888, played by Owain Yeoman in the pilot, back when Terminator still looked like they'd been cast in a CW drama. But when Garrett Dillahunt took over in episode 4, something clicked. Dillahunt gave Cromartie this unsettling mechanical awkwardness. Part Hannibal Lecter dinner party, part Miranda Priestley performance review Laszlo, which made the whole recast thing deliciously meta, because only a Terminator show could make continuity errors feel intentional and somehow brilliant. But here's where it gets weird. After Sarah and crew finally destroyed him, complete with satisfying explosion and everything, ZeroCorp scooped up his endoskeleton and turned it into the physical avatar for the John Henry AI. Suddenly, your former villain's body became home to an entirely different consciousness, a theological debate about artificial intelligence wearing Cromartie's face. Between different actors, different purposes, and his eerie second life as a digital Pinocchio, Cromartie became the show's strangest constant. Number 9. Stars Hollow became a post-apocalyptic battleground. File this under TV trivia so bizarre it has to be true because nobody could make this up and expect people to believe it. Remember Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls?
Hanlon, did you know that Rory has a 4.0 grade average?
I'm sure he does, Mom.
This is a very special girl. You take good care of her.
Well, grab your survival gear and forget everything you know about coffee shop conversations because the Sarah Connor Chronicles filmed right on that same Warner Brothers backlot. Yep, Lorelai and Rory's town square doubled as a battleground for Skynet's rise, which is either the best crossover nobody asked for or the most traumatic thing to happen to Connecticut since the Hartford Whalers left. Sorry, Hartford. I mean, one moment you're imagining Luke pouring coffee and complaining about his customer base, the next you're watching resistance fighters duck behind the gazebo where Kirk once performed his interpretive dance tribute to the Founding Fathers. For fans who noticed, it was like parallel universes colliding in the most beautifully absurd way possible. The ultimate comfort food TV mashed up with apocalyptic sci-fi. Did Stars Hollow survive Judgment Day? Was Kirk secretly a resistance fighter? Honestly, would anyone be surprised? Did Taylor try to establish municipal ordinances for proper Terminator identification? Do Rory and Dean actually live happily ever after in an alternate universe? The questions write themselves and haunt your dreams. Sometimes the best Easter eggs are the ones nobody planned. They just exist to make you question everything you thought you knew about small-town Connecticut. Number 8. Real tragedy forced a complete pilot rewrite. Sometimes TV runs headfirst into reality and the collision changes everything in ways nobody expected or wanted for that matter. The original TSCC pilot included a brutal sequence of a Terminator opening fire on police officers outside a high school.
Excellent.
Standard dystopian drama for a show about killer robots infiltrating society, right? Then the Virginia Tech shooting happened in April of 2007, and suddenly, what was meant as science fiction looked disturbingly like ripped from the headlines horror because reality has a way of making fiction feel uncomfortably prophetic. The producers made the only call they could. They cut the scene and moved the action to a library, completely reshaping the pilot's opening act. Viewers come to sci-fi for escape, but real-world violence changes what feels watchable, what feels responsible, and what feels right. The cutscene still lingers in fan lore as the sequence we'll never see, turning a deleted scene into the kind of TV trivia that outlasts most actual episodes. Now, we're going to take a quick break from killer robots and corporate betrayal, because if you're digging these weird TV deep dives that make you question everything you thought you knew about your favorite TV shows, hit that like button and subscribe like it owes you money. Trust us, there's more heartbreak where this came from, and we're not afraid to share the pain. Number 7, John Connor's birthday doesn't add up, and nobody cares. Continuity in the Terminator universe is already messier than a conspiracy theorist corkboard covered in red string and caffeine-fueled theories about robot infiltration. TSCC somehow made it worse, and honestly, that's kind of impressive. In Terminator 2, John's birthday is clearly established as 1985. I mean, it makes sense if I do the math. Everything's fine in the timeline, relatively speaking, because, time travel. But in one TSCC episode, his birth year gets listed as 1983. 2 years earlier than canon and technically before he was even conceived, which raises some uncomfortable questions about time travel and basic biology that nobody really wants to think about too hard. Lena Headey's real injury became badass canon. Most shows go to great lengths to hide their actors' real injuries. Clever camera angles, strategic props, whatever it takes to maintain the illusion that heroes don't get hurt during commercial breaks. The Sarah Connor Chronicles said, nah, let's make it part of the story. During production, Lena Headey injured her hand while filming a scene where Sarah destroys Cromartie's chip. The next episode just rolled with it, showing Sarah sporting a bandage on screen like it was part of the plan. For fans, it added authentic grit to the character that you can't fake in makeup.
Are you kidding me?
No. Tell me where they went.
Lady, go to hell.
Where they went, or I'm gonna beat you to death. Don't call me lady. Tell me where they went, damn it!
Sarah Connor wasn't just fighting machines, she was literally breaking herself in the process, one bruised knuckle at a time. Sarah was always the scrapper, the one who didn't get out clean, who paid for every victory with actual blood and sweat. Seeing her bruised and bandaged made the struggle feel grounded in a way that all the CGI explosions in the world couldn't match. Sometimes the best character development comes from actual pain and the wisdom to use it instead of hiding it. Number 5. Over 300 actresses auditioned to replace the irreplaceable. Recasting Sarah Connor was like trying to replace Johnny Cash at the Grand Ole Opry. Technically, it's possible, but who's brave enough to try without experiencing a riot? Linda Hamilton had defined the role in T2 with pure grit and the best arms of the 90s. Seriously, those biceps could have had their own action figure line.
You're pretty jumpy, Connor.
Me too. Siempre como culebra.
Finding her successor wasn't just casting, it was archaeology, digging through hundreds of hopefuls to find someone who could fill boots that had already literally kicked the future in the face. Showrunner Josh Friedman went through over 300 auditions searching for someone who could balance ferocity with vulnerability, toughness with maternal instinct, someone who could make you believe she'd drag her kid through hell to save the world and still remember to pack snacks for the journey. The process dragged on longer than most network shows stay on the air, until someone slipped him a tape of Lena Headey doing what she does best, looking like she could stare down death and ask it to take a number. That's when Friedman saw what he needed. Toughness wrapped in sharp intelligence, the kind of presence that made you believe she'd already survived 3 apocalypses and was just getting warmed up for the 4th. Headey didn't try to mimic Hamilton. She brought her own spin. A colder, more paranoid Sarah, shaped by years of running. Like someone who had learned that trust is a luxury you can't afford when every toaster might be plotting your death. Number 4, the show planted elite hacker Easter eggs everywhere. Now, if you were online in 2007, you remember when everything was written in leet speak, back when replacing letters with numbers was peak digital rebellion and typing 1337 made you feel like Neo discovering the Matrix. The Sarah Connor Chronicles knew its audience better than the audience knew itself. When John breaks into a computer store in episode 2, the address on the door reads 1337, a nod to LEET, short for Elite, for anyone who spent hours on message boards arguing about whether Star Wars or Star Trek had better spaceship design. Spoiler, they were kind of both right.
Show me what you found.
Okay, look, no name, but he's got this tattoo on it.
He's one of them.
But it wasn't just a throwaway gag for the basement dwellers and forum warriors. It reinforced John's identity as a tech-savvy rebel living in the digital underground. It's the kind of detail you might miss on first watch, but once you know, it locks the show firmly into its 2007 DNA. The future may be full of killer robots, but at least the hackers will still have their inside jokes. Number 3, Cameron's darkest secret, identity theft, Terminator style. This is the moment TSCC stopped playing nice and went full nightmare fuel. Like someone who decided Pinocchio needed more murder and psychological trauma. In Allison from Palmdale, we discover Cameron didn't just look like resistance fighter Allison Young. She murdered her, stole her face, and wore her identity like a mask you'd buy at a Halloween store, except infinitely more disturbing.
You lied to me. I'll never help you get to John Connor.
It's one of the show's most chilling reveals because it reframes every single scene between John and Cameron with horrifying new context. He's not just looking at his protector, he's looking at the stolen face of someone who should have been his ally, someone who died screaming while a machine memorized her expressions. The irony cuts deeper than any Terminator blade. John's trust in Cameron is built on the identity of the very person she erased from existence. Every smile, every protective gesture, every moment of seeing humanity, it's all borrowed from a corpse. For fans, this was the darkest sci-fi twist imaginable, like discovering your favorite childhood toy was actually made from recycled nightmares. Forget time loops and paradoxes, this reveal was pure psychological horror that made you question every robot you'd ever trust, which admittedly probably wasn't too many. Number 2, the show gave T3 the ultimate cold shoulder. When fans tuned in, they weren't signing up for Terminator 3 completely, branched straight off from Terminator 2 like the third movie never happened, and keep Sarah alive instead of dying of cancer because apparently the future needed more badass mothers and fewer tragic deaths off screen. But here's where it gets even better for hardcore fans still nursing wounds from that motorcycle chase. The action DNA didn't just feel like T2, it literally was T2. The show brought back stunt coordinator Joel Kramer, the same guy who choreographed the mayhem of Judgment Day and made us all believe liquid metal could be scarier than actual nightmares. The pilot even pulled a slick time travel reset, vault jumping the characters from 1999 to 2007 to wipe the slate clean like someone hitting Control-Z on the entire franchise. This wasn't TV trying to imitate Cameron's masterpiece while hoping nobody would notice. It was the series grounding itself in the same world fans grew up loving, complete with the same bone-crunching stunt work that made T2 legendary. And honestly, that's exactly why it worked, and why it felt like coming home instead of visiting a cheap knockoff theme park. Number 1, that cliffhanger finale still haunts every sci-fi fan's dream. Few things hurt more than a series ending mid-sentence, like someone stopping a movie right before the hero saves the day just to watch the entire audience suffer. TSCC delivered one of the most infamous cliffhangers of the 2000s, the kind that spawns angry forum posts and bitter Reddit threads that last longer than most actual TV shows. In Born to Run, John Connor makes a desperate leap forward in time, hoping to find the future resistance he's destined to lead. Instead, he lands in a timeline where his reputation and possibly his entire destiny has vanished, like showing up to your own surprise party and discovering you're not invited. Even worse, he finds himself in a timeline where Allison Young, the resistance fighter who's faced Cameron War, is alive and well, creating a disturbing mirror of identity theft across timelines.
Anybody heard the name John Connor?
It was a gut punch of an ending that set up endless possibilities, each more tantalizing than the last. How would John build his legend from scratch? Could he trust Allison knowing what Cameron did to her in another timeline? What did this mean for Cameron's twisted identity theft? Was this an alternate timeline, a parallel universe, or just time travel being its usual impossible self? Fans were buzzing. They were theorizing, gearing up for season 3 like kids waiting for Christmas morning. Except, Fox canceled the show, leaving that story dangling forever like a conversation that ends mid-word when someone hangs up the phone. For a generation raised on network TV betrayals, it was peak heartbreak. The Sarah Connor Chronicles cliffhanger sits on the Mount Rushmore of unresolved TV teases, right next to shows that deserved so much better but got canceled anyway because apparently networks hate both happiness and good storytelling. Well, there you have it. 15 weird facts about the Sarah Connor Chronicles. So, which fact blew your mind the most? Was it the Stars Hollow connection? Cameron's dark secret about identity theft? Or that cliffhanger ending that still haunts sci-fi forums like a digital ghost? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below because we love hearing what hooked you on this criminally underrated gem. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure you ring that bell for more deep dives into the shows that shaped our childhoods and then broke our hearts, because apparently that's what we do here. And until next time, remember, this is Remember When.